Ghana is enraging thousands of believers because he says the world will end in a few weeks. But the flood didn't occur at all, which made those who had made the payment orders extremely angry. He says God told him in a dream that starting on December, the things written in the Bible will happen again and a big flood will cover the world. To save people, he say he is building huge boats, and he also needs people to donate money to him for help. Those who do not offer help will not be allowed to board the ship. He announced that he had built 8 large wooden arks. His message spread quickly online, and an estimated 280,000 people traveled to stay near him, seeking protection. Many followers also donated large sums of money to support the project. When December 25 passed with no signs of flooding, frustration and panic grew among the crowd. Some followers began questioning where their money had gone after reports surfaced that Ivo Noah had used donations to purchase luxury items, including a Mercedes-Benz.
All right. Welcome to This Week in Ghana. Sorry for the delay. It has been one of those days, and Ivy warned me not to try to squeeze it all in one day, and I did anyway, and here we are 50 minutes late to the normal live stream. So apologies for the delay, but thanks all for joining. I see people jumping on. So this is your weekly live stream, or your bi-weekly live stream. We talk about all things Ghana related. Obviously today we're going to talk about the prophet Ivo Noah. We're going to talk about a little bit about the Diaspora Summit and our thoughts after attending. We'll talk a little bit about Detty December. And if we have time, there's some other topics we will cover. Before we get into the topics, we'll start off with some introductions. So I'll turn it over to the co-host for her introduction, and I'll introduce myself. Wait, Ivy, I don't know if we have your audio. Can you guys hear Ivy? I can't.
Hello, can you hear me? I was on mute, so my apologies.
There we go. No worries. Yes, I can hear you now.
Hello, my name is Ivy Prosper. I tell stories from Africa, and I am an author of the book, Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana. And I do interviews on my channel. I tell stories primarily from Ghana with plans to expand to other African countries. And this evening, I'm excited for us to jump in and tell news stories from Ghana. For those of you who don't know, I also do consultations. If you're interested in information about Ghana, I have consultations that are also available. If you want to support my channel and the work that I do, you can always support through subscribing, through liking, through sharing. And if you want to make any monetary support, you can also do that by PayPal or by Zelle. And then there's also a button at the bottom of the screen that you can always support through super thanks or super chats.
Absolutely. And I am Joe Hatagwa from Authentic African. We help people visit, move, and invest on the continent of Africa, bridging the gap between those living on the continent and those living in the diaspora. Available on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. So yes, please follow, like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so interesting story. I don't know when this came across your feed, Ivy. This Ivo Noah story, I did not become aware of it until around the 25th, where the prophet was, he had prophesized that there will be a great flood, like the one in the Bible. And the idea was that he was building these arks, and that was the day it was supposed to happen. But then I saw him on the radio that day, and he said that he got another notice that the date has changed. And in fact, he didn't have the year; he just has the date. So he knew it was the 25th of December. He just didn't know what year. And then obviously subsequent reports came out. He was on stage at a concert, celebrating on stage. He bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz. And so there seems to be a lot of confusion, frustration, anger. And reports are saying that 200,000+ people came on this journey. I saw a video of a man who was stranded because he actually came all the way to Ghana to get on one of those boats. But they didn't go anywhere. The boats are still there. And so, and then there's a note saying that from this guy George, obviously a Ghanaian, is saying he didn't steal money from anyone, just the hype. The car doesn't belong to him. Okay. So, Ivy, your thoughts on this story, and I'll give my thoughts immediately following yours.
I think it's an unfortunate situation when you see that the funds that he got, he used to purchase a car. That's according to the reports. He used the money to purchase a car, which is really, in my opinion, very disheartening and disrespectful to the people who did strongly believe him and make their donations. You know, I know that there are people in the church who have said that they are prophets and that they receive prophecy from God. I think that there are people who are genuine and genuinely receive messages from God, but there are people who are false. And just from the way things went, he just seems to appear to be a false person. Because why would you use all of the money to now go and do things for yourself? If anything, you could have refunded to all the people, just refund them all their money so that they can go back to where they came from. Because a lot of people, according to the reports, have made the long journey and traveled. So I think that would have been the honorable thing to do, was to send the money back to everybody so that they can, you know, go back to wherever it was that they traveled from and not have a challenge. Because you said you saw the video of someone who was stranded. It would have been nice for him to get his money back so that he can go back home. So I think that's what should have been done.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And you know, even if he didn't use the money to buy the car, as this person watching the live stream says, he still misled everyone, right? And you know, who knows if that's what he believes himself, right? Because we don't know if he's all there. But you know, even if that's what he believes himself, to your point, he should have given the money back to folks, because I mean, I don't know how much it costs to build those arcs, but obviously this didn't happen. And the nonchalant nature in which I've seen these interviews of him, you know, basically saying, hey, why are you confused? I said the day, I didn't say the year. So it was December 25th. It can be 2026. It can be 2027. It can be any year. So I didn't say the year. And so, you know, obviously, you know, I think one of the things that I find disheartening is how blindly people follow folks like in Igbo Noah, right? You see these really large mega churches on the continent that, you know, where people claim to heal people. You find, you know, people like him in Kenya. You saw those people unaliving themselves, right? Because of another prophet of a similar revelations he was making. And you know, it's not exclusive to Africa. Obviously, we've seen, you know, this whole concept of drinking the Kool-Aid comes from this guy named Jim Jones, who did the same thing in the United States and or in the West somewhere. And then, of course, you had David Koresh and others. So this isn't the first that this has happened, and it won't be the last. It's just unfortunate to see our people going through this, especially those who are in the financial position that they might be in. And this is their last hope to believe in someone like this, to find out that it was all a fraud, right? And so that's really unfortunate. But it has been, so many people have been talking about this. I mean, it's been everywhere in my timelines. And I think it speaks to the fact that, and I was mentioning this offline, that I think that on the continent, there are so many people that are just looking for someone to save them, right? They put their hope in they put their hope in so many other people, and it's unfortunate to see that taken advantage of in this way. So, you know, there are some reports that he was, you know, picked up by authorities to protect him. Other people are reporting that he was picked up by authorities for the scam, that he may be charged for this. We will be following the story and letting you guys know as we hear more. Okay, so moving on. I think the next item on the agenda was meant to be the if I'm not mistaken, it was the Diaspora Summit review. So 2 weeks back, I guess it was, we talked about the Diaspora Summit coming up, and what was to be expected. And both you and I attended, and on both days. I think you went both days as well, right, Ivy?
No, I only went one day.
Okay, you went one day. I went both days, and it's a couple of themes, as I mentioned on another live stream. One was the 17th region. Another one was reparations. I think the reparations seemed to be a theme all throughout. And then I saw some themes around the 17th region. Was it the 17th region? Right, the 17th region and its status within Ghana in terms of visas and other things. I'd love to get your thoughts on the summit overall. Ivy, did it meet your expectations? Anything that caught your eye from the speeches that you heard when you were there? Like, what were just your thoughts on the summit in itself?
Well, what I noticed is that the summit was heavily focused on talking about reparations. That's something that the president spoke heavily on. And then the representative from UNESCO also had spoken about that as well. And I think that the discussion of reparations, oh, and then the president also declared, he said that he wanted to declare the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity. He had said that he wanted that to be recognized as that. I think that there are mixed feelings within the diaspora when it comes to the discussion of reparations, because there are a lot of people who feel reparations should go to people in the diaspora, so to the African Americans, through the Caribbeans, the Black people who ended up in Brazil, other parts of South America, because they were the ones taken, and they were the ones who their ancestors did all of the slave work that built the nations over there. So I know that there are many who feel that they're the ones who deserve to have reparations, and that African countries shouldn't be talking about reparations. There's that balance of African countries suffered what happened through, their families were displaced, and also the colonialism that happened after the fact as well. But I know that it is something that has a lot of mixed feelings and mixed meanings for both people on both sides. But it is a good discussion that's coming up. And the fact that an African country wants to lead the charge in the conversation, especially one that had the most slave forts across the country. Ghana had the most in West Africa. So for that fact, and the country deciding to lead the charge on fighting to get reparations, I think is it's quite symbolic.
Absolutely, yeah, and yeah, to echo that sentiment, I think it is quite symbolic, and you haven't heard any other people outside of the United States talk about reparations as a forefront of their focal point for anything, as far as I've seen. And so I think it's really important that the more people who recognize the need, and then there were other things too, right? Mahama mentioned the returning of artifacts to Africa that are in British museums, etc. Just the reconciliation in general, and I think it is important because other groups have had the reconciliation and reparations, right? We've talked about this on different live streams on my platform, just in terms of Native Americans, the Japanese, and in fact, there is tax revenue or reparations being paid today to France by Haiti for their own independence.
That's so crazy.
So, I mean, if that can happen till today, I think that we can look to see how we find a solution for all African people all around the world who have been impacted by the transatlantic slave trade. And I do think Ghana is approaching it from a Pan-African perspective. I heard a lot about Pan-Africanism and the forming of Ghana and Kwame Nkrumah and his vision and continuing that legacy. and hearing more about Kwame Nkrumah's life and some of the things that I was not as aware of that President Mahama actually mentioned, I thought was really important as well. And then, many of the other conversations just talked about that. And there was this concept of, continuing the idea of welcoming back the diaspora. Obviously, the campaign that you were a part of with the Year of Return and Beyond the Return was branded as the Year of Return and Beyond the Return. But what I saw was an extension and expansion on that concept, just under different branding. But I thought just as important, the conversation does need to continue. And so I was happy to see that there's a focus around that. And the organization, at least in general, around the sheer number of events happening and having one location to kind of see it all, I thought was useful and helpful. I've been sharing that with people. But on that note, there were some mishaps this year, just in terms of the visas. You and I spoke about visa on arrival, it not being available because we had anecdotal and firsthand insight from people who were not able to get on flights to come to Ghana. But then post our last discussion, it was shared with us after somebody watched that live stream that as of December 12th, I think it was, visa on arrival had been announced via a press release. However, it seems as though the airlines did not get the memo, the press release. So I thought it'd be a good point to talk about your role during the Year of Return and Beyond the Return, and how it was communicated previously, and what it felt like was missing this year, considering the number of people that got turned away. I mean, I spoke to someone the other day who just went back to the airport the next day and was able to just get on a flight. But the previous day, she was told that without a visa, she could not go, even though she showed them the press release. And they were like, well, we're told that if you don't have a visa, you can't get on this flight. So go home. So your thoughts on that, and maybe some context around what was different when you were involved at the Tourism Authority, and the timing and the amount of communication that had gone out, because I do remember very early on being aware of visa on arrival and telling people about it, like maybe as early as November, or even potentially earlier than that. I always remember these announcements going out and multiple times it being told. So your thoughts on, contextually about everything we had been talking about on visa on arrival and what we've learned and discovered so far this year.
So, previous years with visa on arrival, even the funny thing is, even in previous years, people had felt that it was still announced late. I personally think that it should be announced like 6 months before December, but that's never happened. It's always been an announcement that comes in November, typically. Yeah. So, in previous years, when I was working with Ghana Tourism, what I noticed was different was that the Ghana airports would be part of making the announcement, and they would actually be responsible for making sure that they get all of the information out to all of the airlines and to other airports that Ghana is doing the visa on arrival and that people should be allowed to board in order to come between December 1st to January 15th. But this year, the press release was only from Ghana Immigration. So the whole strategy of it being automatically sent out to all of the airports and airlines and stuff would have a delay in comparison to it coming directly from Ghana airports. So the fact that that didn't happen right away, I think, is part of the problem, where airlines are saying they don't know and they're turning people away. Because I had some people contact me to say that airlines were saying that they did not know anything about Ghana doing this year and that they turned people away. So then there's people who, they lost money on the flight because the airline is looking at it as it's their fault for not doing what they were supposed to do. So they're not doing anything to budge to refund their flights or anything like that. Particularly when you bought a ticket that's on sale. Some of these tickets that are on special pricing, those are the ones that have a tendency to have those no refund clauses and stuff. But if you bought a ticket in a way that you can get a refund, usually they're a little bit more expensive. So those are people who will be able to do that. But if you haven't, then you usually will miss out on the flight. Or if you bought your flight through a third party, like people who may book through like Expedia or something, you're not directly through the airline, you might have some challenges with trying to get a refund. But that's the biggest thing, is the announcement also came quite late, because the press release was dated December 12th, but you and I didn't see it until like, I don't know, 9-10 days after that. And a lot of people I know didn't see it also until about 9-10 days after that came out. So there was obviously a delay in getting it out to the public. So all of those delays together result in, airlines not knowing what's going on, and then subsequently they'll follow what guidelines and policies have been in place the whole year. They're not going to suddenly be like, let me just flip-flop if I don't know for a fact. But they're going to follow whatever the procedure is, which is to not let people board if they don't have their pre-approved visa. So I'm hoping things have changed now that we're later into the month. Hopefully the information is all out there and people are able to board, because I haven't heard any stories yet. Any news stories, I mean, from people who've been turned away. But in the first like couple of weeks of this month, there was people who were turned away. Even before I saw the press release, there were some people who just assumed it was on because it's always been on the last few years, and they just went and hoped for the best, and then got denied boarding.
Yeah, I think that context is all really helpful. I think the piece of, and you had mentioned this to me offline, but the piece about the airports making the announcements, not just coming from the tourism authority, is crucial, because they all talk to each other. I don't know how many airlines are looking for press releases from the tourism authority of any particular country, right? And so I think if an airport talks to an airline, that helps to obviously disseminate that kind of information, and you don't end up with some of these mishaps. So we hope that in the future that is made more. The announcements are made earlier, and that's the path that it goes. And hopefully those people aren't getting stuck on the way in. Okay, next, we did want to talk about the Detty December, or December in Ghana. Let's say December in Ghana 2025, right? Because it has been rebranded from the year of return, beyond the return, to December in Ghana. And I guess each year it'll be December in Ghana the year. So it's December in Ghana 2025.
It's been December in Ghana since 2019. Because 2019 was, 2019, the year of return was 2019, which is January 1st to December 31st. That's the year of return, 2019. Yeah. And then December is when they launched the December in GH campaign that Ghana Tourism Authority launched as part of recognizing that people were coming in December. Over the years in Ghana, people would come to Ghana in December. Usually Ghanaian diaspora usually came home in December. But because of the year of return, they did this whole official branding of December in GH. And so that was kicked off by Ghana Tourism Authority in 2019. So every December, it's a December in GH campaign that Ghana Tourism Authority has in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Creative Arts. And so it's just, again, it's December in GH. The Detty December branding is really much usually it's brand that's about the partying all night and all that stuff. That's what that branding is attached to. Whereas the December in GH is a tourism campaign focusing on multiple events, not just the nighttime partying, but multiple events.
And then the Beyond the Return was the branding.
Yes. So Beyond the Return was a follow-up to the year of return and started January 1st, 2020. And it was supposed to be a 10-year campaign, a decade of African Renaissance with 7 foundational pillars. So it went up until the end of the last government. So it didn't go the whole 10 years officially. They've rebranded that office to the International Affairs Office under the new NDC government. And You don't see them talking about the Beyond the Return campaign anymore, but now they're talking about the new campaign they've launched, the Black Star Experience, which has a lot of similarities to when you read it to the Beyond the Return anyway. So a lot of people are still saying the brand was so strong for Year of Return and Beyond the Return that people still say it to this day. People still say, when is Year of Return? Because people assume Year of Return means December. People think every December is Year of Return. And it's like, no,
Right.
it was 2019. So the branding was so strong on that people still mention it. And I know it's going to be a challenge trying to do this push of the Black Star Experience and then the International Affairs Office. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. People are still coming to Ghana. Ghana still has people's hearts. People still are getting it. They're getting in their emotional feelings about their experiences in Ghana. I've been seeing all kinds of stuff. And then of course there's a few negative experiences. But there's a whole mixed bag, but it seems like the positives are outweighing the negatives.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's a lot of events, right? I went to a panel that you were on, Ivy, tech, culture, and investments, I think, in Africa.
Investment.
Yeah, there've been a ton of panels, Diaspora Summits, Diaspora panels. There's a ton of nightlife activities. I'm running on fumes right now because last night I was at Afrofuture, as you can see. Shout out to Ivy Prosper for the press pass. And so that was an interesting experience just because I went to the first Afrochella prior to them being sued and having to change their name. And that was a very different experience than what we have today. And I think what I will say is what I've noticed is, I was in Ghana for 2019, 2020, 2021, all through the month of December. And what I remember, obviously in 2019, you had Afrofuture, Afrochella at the time, and Afro Nation. And, you had all of the big Afrobeats artists in those days. And in the next year, they were fighting each other to overlap who was performing where. And it was all within those couple of days span. Afro Nation, a Live Nation operation, I don't think continued after last year, 2 years ago. I think they stopped coming to Ghana.
2 years ago, they're not coming to Ghana again, they said.
Yeah, and for many reasons, there were people rushing the lines and all kinds of other things that were happening, and I think they said it was dangerous, etc. But what I do see now is a lot of those major Afrobeats artists came for other shows earlier in the month, right? So GTCO, I don't know how we describe that bank name. I only ever see the letters. I've never heard anybody say it, but GTCO, they had a big performance. I think Burna Boy came for them. I think Ira Star was here for their show, and that's a bank. So the bank had an event earlier this month, and it seemed like that they kind of front loaded the big events because all those artists are now all over other parts of Africa this December. And so what we have is, Afrofuture has, Asake was yesterday, Rima is tonight, Rema is tonight. And I don't know if all the others are going to be performing this December, like the big four, right? Thames, Ira Star, Burna Boy, Wizkid, I guess more than big four, like big five, big six. I don't know if and the rest of them are performing at the end of December. I think they all performed early in December. So that was one of my biggest takeaways in terms of the festivals and the events, is that usually during this time there's a couple of major headliners from Afrobeats performing, and I don't seem to be seeing that this year. But I do see a big, strong push for a lot of the panels, and maybe it's just I'm more focused on those things now than I might have been previously. I might have just missed those previously because, Ivy, you're much more plugged in and tapped in. But have you seen any differences this year in this Detty December or this December in GH versus maybe some previous years?
Well, I haven't been going to every single event like in the past. I've been limiting how much I've been going out, but one thing that I have noticed is that it seems like and this is also coming from some of the event organizers. What they've said to me is they feel like there's less people around. And I know some people who own restaurants who've said that they feel like there's fewer people patronizing the restaurant this December than in previous Decembers. One particular person said that, you know, she usually was used to her place being packed with people all the time. And now it's a lot less than it was before. So she's seen the reduction. And a couple of the places that I went, it looked like there weren't as many people as in the past that I've seen. So it seemed like the crowd was a little bit thinner than before. So I'm hearing that people are going to Nigeria a lot more. But the thing that's different about Nigeria, I haven't been, but from what I hear is that their December tends to be a lot of Nigerians who live abroad that come and spend the December month there, Detty December time there, and that there's fewer diaspora from other places than you see in Ghana. That's what I hear. So I don't know, but Nigerians are big in number. There's more population of them who are around the world than Ghanaians. So if they're going home in their numbers, it would be quite obvious and quite significant compared to Ghana. But Ghana gets a lot of diaspora. I feel like people feel like Ghana's safe. There's something about Ghana, the spirit of Ghana, that pulls people, even with the challenges that the country has. People still feel this sense of peace and calm, and they fall in love with the country. Like, I've seen so many videos of people talking about the spiritual feeling they have when they come to Ghana and how they feel so connected. And one of the things people often say is they lied to us. People lied to us. Africa's different. Ghana's different than what we expected. So, but we'll see when the official numbers for tourism come out. But the other thing I think is because visa on arrival wasn't announced early, there are some people who just didn't bother because the time was too close to try to get a ticket. Then it's too expensive, so they end up not coming. So it's possible the numbers of people traveling in could be less than previous years because that visa on arrival wasn't an option early enough for people to help people to make the decision. So we'll see when the official numbers come as for travelers into the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I saw some numbers. Yeah, I mean, there were folks talking about the fact that Ghana had hit the projected numbers of 1.7 million by the end of 2025. And obviously that's for the full year, but, you know, a pretty significant number of those would be in December. And but I will say anecdotally, to your point, I've heard a lot of people talking about Ghana and Nigeria. In fact, I've had friends throughout the years go to both countries in December, start in Ghana, and then Christmas through.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, do the Nigeria thing. And, you know, since 2019, in fact, during the year of return, I had some friends that I was with in the early part of December in Ghana, and they left partway through that trip and went to Nigeria and celebrated the end of the year into New Year's there, which might make sense because a lot of the big Afrobeats artists are performing in Nigeria right now, right? And if people are coming here to go to all the festivals and the concerts and they want to hear their favorite artist, they're going to be missing out on them being here in Ghana. And so if that's what they're coming here for, Nigeria is probably the place to go if that's what you're looking for, considering the schedule. So it's anecdotal. I mean, we'll see what the numbers say, but that's what I've been seeing and hearing from folks. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to that, but that's what I've been hearing.
No, I'd have nothing else to add.
All right, cool. So I know we started really late, guys. And so I do want to run through maybe one or two more items before we go. You know, I think one of the things that I did want to cover is Mr. Easy at Detty Rave made a statement, and I know that it's Detty Rave was what, yesterday or the day before? It was
27th. The 27th.
The 27th. So that'd be 2 days ago. This is the 29th. Can you give us a little bit of context about what he said and I guess why he said it?
Well, he basically said that uh, he wanted Ghana Tourism Authority to help him get land so that they can help to build a facility that would be a both indoor and outdoor facility for having large scale events. And he's putting up $2 million of his own money to get the project started. So now Ghana Tourism Authority is on blast because of Mr. Easy making that statement. So there's a lot of people in the comment sections of different people who've posted on their platforms the clip of him saying it. Some of them saying that, that if the tourism industry is serious, they would do something. Others, like a lot of people supporting him, saying that he should. It was good that he said what he said. I made a comment on one video and was like, who told him that Ghana Tourism is the one who gives land? Because Ghana Tourism is not responsible for land in this country.
Right.
If anything, I know that Ghana Tourism Authority has a lot of the public face for tourism in Ghana because they are actively involved in a lot of things. So a person who doesn't know the intricacies or ins and outs of Ghana will choose to call out the front-facing organization. But, most of the land in Ghana is like presided over by the chiefs. So it's like you got to get in with the chiefs for them to figure out what piece of land that they might want to help you allocate, and work with them in the Lands Commission to try to get something, because the government has, I think, less than 20% of land in Ghana, and the rest is like mostly presided over by chiefs. So you have to get in the good books with them and figure out, where. And when he said Accra, I was thinking, where in Accra is there space to build a venue that he said 3,000 plus in size? For, I'm just thinking of where exactly in Accra, because I foresee this being something that would be outside of the city, because so much land is gone already in Accra. But we'll see what happens. I'm sure that a statement will be made by Ghana Tourism Authority, but it's a government organization, so they're not going to be hasty in their response. They're not going to just respond quickly out of, emotion and retaliation just because he made this statement, because it's trending on all kinds of news outlets as well as a lot of bloggers' pages. So I'm sure that they're having discussions and meetings behind the scenes, and a public statement will be made, an official statement would be made eventually. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I get it. You're speaking to a medium-sized event venue where like indoor and outdoor, because obviously, Afro features at Elwak Stadium, and it's big enough to be able to hold all the people there, right? And plus many more. And I was there last night. I may be going back again tonight. We'll see how my brain is functioning and if I'm able to get there. But I do think that the idea of having an event space like that is really useful. But to your point, where, right? Unless you're saying the greater Accra region, which is much bigger than
like
just,
you're saying, like outside, like Kaswa or something, but that's kind of far too. So who wants to go to Kaswa all the way there for an event if you're coming in town? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what the response is, especially since you said, right, there's a lands commission, right? And that's really, the people who help to, facilitate those kinds of things. And as you said, obviously the chiefs have, basically what, like 80% of the land here, or they preside over it. And so, yeah, obviously it's easier said than done. There's a lot that has to happen. But I'm interested to see the response there, because he's talking about putting up his own $2 million of his own cash to do it. I thought it was interesting. Yeah. I haven't heard an artist say anything like that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, interested to see if that's the case. And so, yeah, okay. So, I wanted to mention that before we go. We are way late. And thank you, Ivy, for being able to come on and staying on this late, because I know it's almost 10:30 now, and we were supposed to go 9. And thank you guys for watching. Those who watched, and
I didn't see any comments today.
Not a lot of comments today. Some
People
people
are
who
out
joined,
partying, maybe.
yeah, people who joined late too were talking about the earlier discussion with reparations, etc. Those came up a little bit later. So I did see some of those comments in here. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I think maybe everybody was just listening in today because it's a pretty good group of folks online. I just don't see a lot of people commenting as much, except for when we were talking about the reparations piece. There were a number of people commenting, but we wanted to get on to the next story, so we didn't get a chance to spend too much time on capturing everybody's comments. But we will be back. In 2 weeks, we'll go live again, and we'll be talking about all things happening between now and then. With, in the interest of time, and how late it is in the evening, I think we'll bring this thing to a close. Ivy, anything else that you have for the folks out there who are watching?
I don't have anything else. It's been a good conversation about the news in Ghana this week.
And it's time to go to bed. So I will say, as Ivy said earlier, you can support the channels. Those links are in the descriptions of these videos if you want to support the channel in any way that you can. It is free to like, comment, subscribe, and to share this with anyone. So you can drop it in WhatsApp, send it to Blue Bubble, Green Bubble, whatever, via text message. Feel free to save the video. All those things help not only us, but it helps to get this information to more people, right? I think the reason why we're doing this is it's not for vanity purposes, right? We really do this because we care to share this information with folks. And if you feel like this is valuable, we always ask that you do your part to help us get this in front of more people. The algorithms have been challenging to us these days. And so we need your help as the army of those viewing these live streams to help get the word out there to more people. So we appreciate you guys watching, but also sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channels. And all of that will be in the description below. So with that, thanks for watching. We will see you guys all in a couple of weeks. Bye, guys.
See you soon.